Welcome to the wdw Reflections Podcast. Here, we'd love to talk about the Walt Disney World Resort, the way we remember it, how it's changed, and why we still enjoy visiting the most magical place on Earth. So come with us on a podcast journey as we reflect on the wdw Reflections Podcast.
All right, so taking this back to the parks, Disney first started trickling the appearance of the characters and the songs from the film with a parade that premiered on the West Coast in Disneyland called the Lion King Celebration. Even though it was a West Coast show, I mention it here because elements of the show eventually made their way over to Walt Disney World. This parade, I don't know if you guys have ever seen any clips from it, and you'll probably enjoy it if you ever see it online. It premiered a couple of weeks before the original movie did in June of 1994, and it presented colorful African-inspired colors and designs with dancers performing traditional African dances, and they were adorned in leopard and zebra and costumes like that. But the parade also featured the premiere of audio animatronic floats that are just amazing to look at because the characters blink, they roar, they move, along with music. And it turns out that the Imagineers had employed their first use of something called puppetronics, and that's what they used to create these gigantic puppets on the floats that featured everything from rhinos, elephants, and even giant giraffes that would bob their head back and forth, to the endless repeat of what appears to be Disney's favorite song to reuse from the movie, and that is "I Just Can't Wait to Be King," which played ad nauseum during this parade. Puppetronics, as I said, made the characters appear lifelike. When the run of this parade ended in 1997, a few of the floats from it were moved over to the Animal Kingdom for the show, which exists there now, and it's better known as the Festival of the Lion King. But that's a whole nother story. As the success of The Lion King continued, Disney, of course, finds many ways of incorporating their characters into the park, from naming parking spots in the garage to incorporating the characters into their suites at the animation resort. I think once Simba was born, he truly became one of the kings of the kingdom there, in addition to Mickey. And in fact, on the opening day of Disney's Animal Kingdom, there was a televised performance of the Circle of Life presented during the park's dedication. And I think that phenomenal success of the movie helped to spur on the creation of Disney's largest theme park expansion at the time. Even though it had been in development for a while, I think the interest in animals and in those African themes brought the Animal Kingdom Park to fruition. And it's one of my favorite places to stay and eat, as well as the Disney Animal Kingdom Lodge. The movie also made its way into an attraction at Epcot with a short movie presentation called The Circle of Life, which featured the original cast members in a new animated tale in which Simba relates how humans and animals are similar creatures that should take care of the earth. But heading back to this subject matter, on July 8th of 1994, a couple of weeks after the premiere of the movie, Disney presented an all-new stage show at the Magic Kingdom, sponsored by Kodak. It replaced a show called Magic Journeys at the Fantasyland Theater, and it was a multimedia performance utilizing puppetry, costumes, sets, surround sound, and a movie screen to retell the movie live on stage. Unlike Festival of the Lion King at Animal Kingdom, which we see now, which is purely based on circus acrobatics and audience participation and kind of more of a sing-along, The Legend of the Lion King was actually a sweet little puppet show which brought the characters of the movie to life to tell the entire story within 25 minutes. As the audience entered the stage area, they were immediately met by a costumed Rafiki, who was voiced by Robert Guillaume, who did the voice in the movie. And Rafiki's mouth, interestingly enough for a costume character at the time, actually moves up and down in sync with the dialogue. And he relates the story of Simba, a new Lion King born into the kingdom. This, of course, leads to the Circle of Life scene from the movie, which is actually projected on a screen behind him as he sets the stage for what's to come. After the clip, the stage clears out to present the savannah and puppets of Mufasa and Simba in what appears to be alternate takes from the film's dialogue, which tells the story, and we learn everything that the light touches as part of the kingdom, that whole scene there. The Mufasa puppet was pretty majestic. It was life-size, and even though it looks like the cartoon character, it moved very realistically. The scene then changed to present Disney's favorite song from the film again, and that is I Just Can't Wait to Be King, with puppets of Nala and Simba dancing around in a multimedia mix of movie and sound and action, with the giant giraffes in the background. Rafiki reappears again and leads us to the next scene with Scar and the hyenas, and they sing Be Prepared. And the dark and scary number comes complete with live billowing steam that comes out from the bottom of the stage onto a huge elephant tusk. And if you look carefully, you'll see that the Scar puppet is stomping his paws in time with the music as the hyenas dance around like deranged Muppets. So it was really pretty effective. That scene then transitions to one of the darker moments of the movie, which I'm surprised that they actually went with showing. And it was portrayed vividly through the use of the movie screen and puppets and lightning. And that's when Scar tricks Simba into starting the stampede, and it ultimately claimed the life of Mufasa. This scene features the puppets with Mufasa's lifeless body lying there, and the puppets coming up to look at it, which, we're talking about a theme park show in the middle of the Magic Kingdom, and here there's the main character lying dead on stage, which is kind of interesting. And I don't know if you guys remember when that movie first came out, there were people who wanted to boycott the movie and were upset with Disney for including such a dark scene in the film.
I don't remember that, but that's interesting.
Rafiki then reappears to lead us to the next scene, which picks things up a bit with Hakuna Matata, and the puppets present Simba's transition into adulthood. Can You Feel the Love Tonight is set in a clearing in the forest. I mean, the sets in this thing are pretty amazing for a little puppet show. And the two lion puppets are seen cuddling as the romantic song plays and the lighting changes. Rafiki teaches Simba the meaning of who he is, and we witness a celestial appearance of Simba telling him to remember who you are. This leads to a battle of the lions, which is cut between scenes that look like alternate cuts from the movie that are also projected behind them. And as Simba emerges victoriously, Rafiki leads the scene into the finale, which takes place at a live presentation of Pride Rock, when he holds up the new lion cub to the savannah. I really enjoyed this attraction back in the day, and I thought it was a brilliant use of the live action, motion picture, mixed media approach of storytelling. I think it helps also that I love the movie and the songs and the ultimate messages. And believe it or not, I actually prefer my memories of this version to the one that was eventually staged on Broadway in 1997. I mean, those puppets were just amazing to look at, and they were a lot of fun. I happen to prefer that approach then to having the live actors do it. This show itself closed in February of 2002, so it ran almost 8 years in that spot, and it was eventually replaced by Mickey's PhilharMagic, another great show that features another one of my favorite characters, Donald Duck, as he inadvertently makes his way into scenes from favorite Disney movies, including one in which he is led out of Ariel's grotto into the sunset of the African savannah, and he finds himself embroiled in the comical, colorful presentation of, again, Disney's favorite song, Just Can't Wait to Be Just Can't Wait to Be King. And reclaiming his spot as the king of the jungle for a brief moment in this attraction, a 3D animated version of Simba closes the bit by looking into the audience in a very big smiley face and giving a huge roar, which he wasn't really able to do in the movie, if you kind of remember. The legend of the Lion King continues in various iterations in parks all around the world. Its popularity is seen to have never faltered, as the characters are still used even in modern attractions. There's that recent kite thing that opened last year, which features the characters and the story yet again. The Festival of the Lion King was so popular that even though it closed during the pandemic, it came back in an altered form last year. And then just recently, apparently, it's back to more of its original form with the puppetry, and the performers, the circus performers are back. So it's a very huge and popular show at the Animal Kingdom. That might be a great celebration of the film, but in my particular reflections, I won't forget the legend as presented at the Fantasyland Theater at the Magic Kingdom in the late 1990s. Hakuna Matata.
And this may be a little bit controversial. I don't know. Maybe this is controversial, maybe it's not, but it's actually, I like Legend of the Lion King better than Festival of the Lion King.
Yeah, me too.
The show that's there now. So
yeah.
Maybe that's not controversial because you and I agree. But it was, the puppets were super cool. If you think about, it's not unlike the Little Mermaid show that's
very
over
similar.
At what you call it, over at
Hollywood
the studios
Yeah.
in the animation courtyard, and it's not unlike the Nemo, the musical Nemo show over at Animal Kingdom that still runs today. Kind of in that same vein, it had humans moving the puppets, but instead of like where Nemo is, you could see the puppeteers. They're there on stage and they're moving the fish. With Legend of the Lion King, it was almost like they're not almost like the puppeteers were in a pit.
It was like Muppets.
Yes, absolutely. You did say that. It was like Muppets. They were in a pit, and they were below, I guess, what would be the stage level. And there was, strategically placed set pieces that looked like savanna grass and rocks and stuff like that. So they would reach above themselves with the puppets, and the puppets would show above the stage, and the people were down below. Almost.
What's funny to me is you're explaining the traditional puppet, because traditional puppets are no longer the tradition.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I mean, unless you had sock puppets when you were a kid or something, you probably.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess the actual real first puppets were the marionettes,
right?
Where the strings would come down from the top. But that just caught me interesting that we're explaining how puppets work.
And I actually preferred it that way, because I know that was one of the things that I did not like about the Lion King Broadway show. As soon as the guy came out with it's hard to explain, but if you ever see the opening, when the guy came out with the Zazu puppet, I'm like, okay, I don't want to see the performer. I'd rather see the animal.
Yeah. It was really well done, and not that I dislike Festival of Lion King.
Yeah.
I like the monkeys that bounce on the trampolines and stuff. I mean, it's a good show, but it was, I don't know, it was just really cool. The puppets were really well done. I mean, they looked like the characters from the cartoon. They were just 3D. It was really well done. Obviously the music is great. And you talked about that. You
guys are making me want to see this, and obviously that's not.
Well, I'm sure you can find it on YouTube.
You can find it. Yeah, I watched it before doing this presentation.
The full size Rafiki, you talked about how the mouth was animated and everything. That thing was super cool. It was, it was obviously a costumed character. I
was trying to figure out how they moved his mouth, though, because I know sometimes you've said, not to ruin the magic with anybody here, but some of that control is in the fingers, but you can actually see the performer's fingers. So I don't know how their mouth was able to move.
Well, if you think about it was a precursor to the Mickey and Minnie that we have now, that their eyes blink and all that stuff. It was just an early version of that. It was probably done off stage, or it was just automatic. It just,
But I talked, I can give a little bit of a
spoiler.
spoiler. So spoiler alert, if you don't want to hear this, don't listen. But the way that Mickey and Minnie move their mouth and eyes, even though you can see their hands too, it's just a finger control. And so you're not looking, you just don't notice it because you aren't paying attention to their fingers. And so they blink their eyes and move their mouth with the fingers that they're attached to cables. And I know that from talking to a guy that was best friends with Goofy.
Okay.
I would have thought it would have been like a headpiece or something they wear on inside.
That would attach to your jaw or something.
Mm-hmm. But I guess not.
But what's kind of fun is when they created this thing called puppetronics, you can see, if you ever watch the parade itself, it's called the Celebration of the Lion King from 1994. They've got it on, someone's got it on YouTube. You notice that those floats were eventually used in the Festival of the Lion King, and it is some of those same puppets and the same way that they move.
Absolutely.
And also they even have some of the themes they went over. They have some of the monkey. There aren't really monkeys in the Lion King movie, but you see the guys in the yellow monkey outfit swinging from the float. So they eventually incorporated that into the Festival of the Lion King as well.
Oh, absolutely. The one of Simba, like grown up Simba on the rock and stuff, that is directly from that parade. The float that's in the parade with Pumbaa on it and everything, directly from that parade. I definitely remember that parade too.
What's the name of that? Do you remember the name, that kite attraction that I mentioned? I couldn't remember the name.
Kite Tails.
Oh, Kite Tails. Okay. Have you looked at any of those videos?
I've I have watched many. Mostly what I've seen is like kite tail fails.
Yeah.
So it's all the crash landings and stuff. I've seen those.
It looks Ron, have you seen this?
No, I'm not.
It's pretty disturbing, especially when the giant float just kind of dies on the corner. It's part of the show. They just like take it around and then they dump it.
Yeah, I guess there's no ceremonious way or no what's the word I'm looking for? There's no the way you land a kite is it just hits the ground. That's just how you land a kite. So there's really no other way to do it. So it is funny when you see, here comes like Baloo. I think Baloo is one of the characters, and he's just like like a crash landing, So you do see like Simba. There's a big Simba kite, and it just head first crash landing, bam, and that's how you land a kite. So it's pretty comical.
And it's amazing how much this movie really infused itself into the park. I mean, Animal Kingdom is almost, it really does feel like it was built entirely, even though it was planned way before. It feels like it was built entirely on the success of The Lion King.
Well, it was pretty close to timing. If you think
Very
Lion
close.
King, the movie came out in 94.
Right.
And the park, Animal Kingdom, opened in 98.
Yeah.
So it was definitely, it had to be in the forefront of their minds when they were building. And I mean, even at Animal Kingdom where the lions are in that area, I mean, it's Pride Rock, the lion,
the symbolism,
whatever that is, the enclosure or the lion display or whatever. I mean, it's Pride Rock. It's what it is. So it's definitely modeled after that. So they were 100% guaranteed. They were like, hey, let's do some Animal Kingdom, Lion King stuff here. I mean, that had to be their plan. Definitely incorporated in anywhere even the like all the safety brochures and all that stuff, everything that is around Animal Kingdom has Timon and Pumbaa on it.
True, right.
So,
do you think that do you guys think that the everlasting appeal of this movie will surpass some of the others? Because I notice they tend to latch on whatever movie is the big hit of that decade and and go with it. For instance, this period was The Lion King. Then they went with Frozen for the longest time, and now it seems every ride that's coming out is Moana something or another. So, do you think that The Lion King people will characters and ideas will outlast those other two?
I think it's generational. If you think about, so for our generation, I wasn't really a big Cinderella or Snow White fan. Those were from the 30s
Previous.
and 40s or whatever. So my generation is probably is Lion King and Aladdin, Little Mermaid, right?
Yeah.
So, but my kids, you can't hardly get them to watch the hand-drawn animation stuff.
Really?
They are
Interesting.
Toy Story and Nemo and Frozen, all that stuff. My son is Toy Story and Nemo when he was little. My daughter is more Rapunzel, Tangled, I guess, actually. Tangled and Frozen, because she's 15 now, so she would have been, like 5 when those were coming out. So I think it's generational. So my kids, now they've seen Aladdin, they've seen Lion King and stuff, but those aren't their favorites. Just like I've seen Cinderella, but that's not my favorite. My favorite is the stuff from my childhood. So that's my guess. I think it's generational. I think it's probably the people that when you're whatever was out and popular and when you're a kid is what you're going to identify with.
Well, I think that's why we're kind of grumpy old men with wanting to see some of the stuff at the park stay the way it is, and they're changing to keep the current people or the current generation more engaged. But I think that Lion King is one of those. It may be the Cinderella of our day, right? And so Lion King, I think, will always be part of something happening.
Listen to the complete show at wdwreflectionspodcast.com or on your favorite podcast service.